forward.
So we did it. Okay, so welcome back to, and with me today is my frequent guest, Caitlin.
Hi.
What we're going to be reviewing today is Persuasion, the movie.
Ooh. Both of our books are green. That's interesting.
Is yours like this?
Yeah. Well, not as good as yours.
Oh yeah. So this was meant to be, we were going to record this in Caitlin's new apartment. And then there was a COVID issue. So we are instead doing this virtually.
And you're in your new apartment.
Yes, we're both in our new apartments in front of our new bookshelves.
Heck yeah.
So we're going to review the movie Persuasion, and in preparation to watch the movie, we both reread Persuasion. And I looked back and I think I've read Persuasion 4 times.
This was my second time reading it.
Okay. So
the first time I read it was on your recommendation, so I have you to thank for this.
This is by far my favorite Jane Austen, probably one of my favorite books. And did you get any different sense of Anne when you read it the second time?
I feel like the first time that I read it, I was more interested in the plot and the romance unfolding, and like because I didn't know how it was going to unfold, so that was my main focus. And then the second time reading it, I knew how it was going to play out, so I was much more focused on Anne's character and just trying to like understand her more. I found her super relatable, and I love her character, and I just love to see how she reacts to all of the events that are unfolding.
Yes, I agree. I love her character. The first time I read it, I remember just being so on edge and so just feeling so much suspense about what would happen, even though it's Jane Austen and you kind of figure, you know, what's going to happen. I still felt so much suspense. And then at the end, that letter that he writes her, it's still moving. And I think this is the 4th time I've read it. And I still took my time when I came to the letter and just really, really poured over that letter. And I marked a lot of passages when I was reading it this time where you can see like the love story developing again.
Mm-hmm.
The issue I had this time with it when I read it was I forgot how little you hear Anne's voice in the beginning of the book. So I feel like you don't really, everything's almost passive. It's sort of like what happened and all of the players around her, but it isn't until she goes with the Musgroves that you really start to get a sense of her personality and you hear her voice. So I was actually like this time reading it, I was kind of a little frustrated that I didn't really get that much sense of Anne again until like a quarter into it.
I do feel like that was intentional from Jane Austen. Like the first chapter, you don't even hear from her whatsoever. You're just hearing about the rest of her family. And I think it's just kind of pointing to the fact that she is kind of this almost like a background person in the lives of these other people. She's not like the kind of person who would typically be the main character. Mm-hmm. And yet she is the main character. And it definitely is like once she kind of is away from her family, it's when you see her more of her, because I think her family just like kind of suffocating.
Yeah, and they just completely disregard her.
Yes.
And the fact that I really like what you just said, because that makes me think everybody develops this interest in Anne. The more they know her, the more they appreciate her. And everybody has to kind of get to know her, and then they really love her and want her in their lives more the Musgroves want her all the time. They keep inviting her back.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a really good point, that everybody kind of has to come to Anne that way, even the people in her life, because she does not really.
Yeah, and I mean, she's not about being the center of attention. She's very happy to sit and listen to conversation, and she cares a lot about the other people in her lives. So she's just attentive to them, and that's kind of, I think, how she shows her love for them, is by being there for them, listening to them, serving them. Like even that one guy that she meets at Lyme, I forget his name, but he's the one who recently lost his wife. And
Yes.
she just
His
really,
best friend? Oh no, lost his wife. Yes.
yeah. And he's kind of a quiet person, and
Mhm.
he's very down, and she just kind of sees it as almost like her duty to talk to him, and more so listen to him and encourage him in his grief. And she's
Yeah.
just that kind of person. That's how she's there for people.
Yeah, and she kind of even phrases it like it's as a privilege, like she's happy to do it,
Yeah.
like it. Yeah, so I really like thinking of that way, that she kind of develops in everyone's regard, like everybody kind of develops this warmth for her. And she is, but that's why I loved her character from the beginning, is that she resigned herself to, I've given up the love of my life. I will never love anyone else. And that's what I've done. And the rest of my life, this is just my lot. I gave him up. I will never
Yeah.
love someone else. So, it's just that I really love that about the book. And I
Yeah,
love reconciliation, like romances at the end. I just love that.
yeah. I feel like she has a maturity of character, and she's very steadfast in who she is. So like she's very upset about losing Wentworth, and maybe even regrets it, but I don't think she's self-pitying about it.
No.
She's resolved herself to what the circumstances are, and I think has a strong character, even though she's a quiet person.
Yes, I agree. I agree. And I feel as if she has decided that was the love that I gave up, and I'm not going to chase another, even when they think she's going to marry Mr. Elliot.
Mhm.
And what, there's a scene where she thinks about it for like 5 minutes or something, like she has to go off and picture it,
Yeah.
but she knows it's not going to happen. I just
Yes,
love
yeah.
that part where it's like she allows herself like 5 minutes to dream about being Lady Elliot, and then she's just back to, no,
Yeah.
I love
So she doesn't like let her emotions carry her away. She still is like rational about things. And
hmm
yeah, I like her a lot.
I do too. Which leads us to the movie.
Yes. Let's talk about that.
Talk about what they did to Anne in the movie.
Just killed her, basically. She doesn't exist in this movie.
No. So I feel like we could say, I mean, the movie's cute. It's a cute movie, but calling it Persuasion is enraging, because that's not Anne Elliot at all.
Oh, no, not whatsoever. What's the name of this actress? Dakota. What's her last name?
Dakota Johnson.
Oh. I mean, she's great. Love her.
Yeah, Dakota Johnson.
That sounds
I do
great.
too. Yeah.
But not as Anne.
No, not this. Okay, the snarky asides to the audience when she says things along the lines of, she's such a narcissist, she doesn't even know. That is not the way.
Yes, yeah.
Never talk about her sister ever.
No. Like Anne doesn't really like her family that much, but she respects them.
Mm-hmm.
And she treats them with respect. And even in an aside to the audience, she would not speak about her family like that. Never.
No. And there's one part where she and Lady Russell are sort of making fun of Mary, kind of in a way. Basically, Mary's going back and forth about whether or not they will like, was it Mr. Elliot? Was that who they were back and forth with? And Anna kind of poked a little bit of fun and just said, I've never had my opinion this highly regarded or something, but she's laughing. It's in no way meant as a
Yeah.
hurtful, snarky observation. It's just, she's kind of laughing. She's having fun with Lady Russell and with her sister. And I don't think it's at Mary's expense. I think it's just, they're laughing situation.
Yeah. But in the movie, the way she treats her sister and the rest of her family, like there's that part where she's joking about how she'll speak to Mary in Italian and Mary doesn't even realize it. And she's like looking at the camera, like basically rolling her eyes, like, can you even believe this right now? And it's at Mary's expense.
Yeah. And she's showing off like the Italian with that showing off of, answering in Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Anne was very modest about her understanding of Italian in the book. She's she's very modest about it. There was at no point would she have been showing off just speaking Italian as like a joke. And there's no way that scene in the movie where she yells out the window at Captain Wentworth.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even believe that. That was before they had even like met again.
Right.
And she sees him from a distance and is like yelling out his name because I guess she's drunk or something. Another thing Anne would never do.
No.
That was so insane. And also, like, I felt they made her into this like woe is me type of character.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And she wasn't woe is me. She was more like, that was my decision and it's tragic. And I have lost the man that I love. I've lost this amazing group of friends I would have had. I've lost this future. But yeah, she wasn't like, woe is me, taking like long baths and drinking bottles of wine. That whole thing was not in her character.
Yeah. And also even like talking to Lady Russell about it, that was something she kept very private, even from Lady Russell. And that was like an important part of the book because she was very worried about Lady Russell's reaction to him being back in the picture. And like she didn't want to talk about that with her.
Yeah, there's that scene in the book where they're in the carriage and they're driving through town and she's so afraid Lady Russell saw him on the street. And then Lady Russell says something like, oh, I was just looking at those curtains. And Anne realizes that she had overthought it and was like absolutely terrified of Lady Russell's reaction to seeing Wentworth. And that wasn't at all what Lady Russell was staring at. So I don't feel like she would, I agree, she wouldn't be that open with Lady Russell about him. And plus she's incredibly wounded. She's still, this is the man she loves. So she would not be talking like that with someone else. And she wouldn't be the whole scene where he comes in and she's got like a mustache and she's got like wearing that. I mean, again, that would be cute in a movie that is not called Persuasion, but that is not how Anne Elliot would act.
No. When they're reunited for the first time and they see each other again in the book, it's a very quick, brief, quiet moment that nobody else around them even thinks anything of. They're the only ones who realize the significance of this meeting and what's happening because they just like nod at each other basically.
Right. And Anne still has to recover afterwards.
Yeah. She's like in a straight panic. Yeah.
In the book or in the movie, she's just like goofing off, and that is just, again, there is no scrap of Anne Elliot in that movie.
And I really didn't like their choice to do these, breaking the fourth wall or whatever it's called when she's speaking to the audience. And because in the book, when something really emotional happens to Anne and she needs to process it, the number one thing she wants to do is just be alone, go to her bedroom and think and process it over by herself in her own mind. And then with the way that they handled it in the movie, anytime something happens, she's turning to the camera and speaking to the audience. And
Yeah.
it really just takes away from like the way she searches out solitude.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in Anne Elliott's character. I love Dakota Johnson. I mean, I think she's a great actress. So none of this is on her. I don't know the writer, the director, like who decided that Anne Elliott's like this, like snarky. I don't know, but that is not her character at all.
And it's just frustrating because that Anne's character is what people love about the book.
Mhm.
It's not something that you should change.
No, like of all things, Persuasion is not really as much plot driven as it is their characters just developing. And when you can see Captain Wentworth, like in the beginning, he can finally be like in a room with her and be nice to her. And then it's like, oh, he can actually worry about her. Like he can actually, he gets her a seat in the carriage when he can see that she can't walk. Then it's almost like you can see him falling. So you see his character develop and you see Anne's character develop too, where she's through the book, you can see like the hope blossoming a little bit, where she's like, oh, he does care. You can see that through the book. The movie, it's just plot driven, and she's just kind of goofy, sarcastic, and
It's just like the typical modern day female protagonist. Like she just kind of blends right in with every other.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
like it's just kind of annoying because what are they trying to say? A person with the personality of Anne, a quiet type of person, is not interesting enough? Are they like too boring to have somebody like that as the main character?
yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
just
true.
I just find it really like boring that they made her the way they made her.
Yeah. So instead of somebody that you warm up to and get to know better and better, she has to be this like, well, let me tell you about myself. The very first scene where she's, showing, look at me drinking wine, look at me taking a bath. Like it was like, it would never do that.
No. And
So
also, I think this is just the general consensus. I don't think we're saying anything that hasn't been said before about this movie. I really haven't heard anybody like who actually loves the book saying that they liked the movie and what they did with it.
yeah, yeah. I think it's a cute movie that could be called anything other than Persuasion, because I liked both character. I liked Dakota Johnson's character and like Captain Wentworth. I liked those characters and it was a cute story, but I really didn't like the fact that this was supposed to be Persuasion. So I feel like it's a missed opportunity. So are they going to remake Persuasion again? Do we have a say in this, Caitlin?
Should we remake Persuasion and
You
just
have
cast
experience.
ourselves? Yeah, I
You have
remake
experience.
movies. So I could do this. I can take it on.
I accept. I will play any role. You, of course, will be an Elliot.
That's fine because then I won't have to really say much.
There you go. Well, I'm glad that we agree. And I am sad that it wasn't all that I was hoping to see. But I am glad that it got me to reread Persuasion again.
Yes, yeah.
I missed it.
I love it. It's like an old friend.
It is. So if you have any comments about our review of Persuasion, or if you have any, I wouldn't say, I hope we didn't do too much spoiler alert. I guess we kind of did, didn't we?
We'll put it in the title that there are spoilers. How about that?
All right, sounds good. All right, so please comment. Let us know what you think of our review, and let us know what you think of Persuasion, the book, as well as Persuasion, the movie. And like and subscribe. And thank you, Caitlin, for being on another episode.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.
See ya.
Bye.